What is Dechala denied from Tormentor's holds? Decala's recruitment is defined not simply by what she can get from a Tormentor's hold, but what she can't, which is the only lens through which we can make sound choices about what to build in Pleasure Palaces once the first becomes available. So what is Dechala denied? It's a lot, but she does get some things too. Let's cut to the squirrel chase. Outside of Pleasure Palaces, the Tormentors have no Tier 0 units. A hold must have a recruitment building in order to recruit any military units whatsoever. The buildings are 750 favor, 1500, and 3000 for tiers 1, 2, and 3 respectively. The infantry building produces devoted marauders and ditto with spears at tier 1, ditto with Hell Scourges at tier 2, Chaos Warriors and the Hell Scourges variant at tier 3. The demon building produces Daemonettes and Chaos Furies at tier 1, Slangors and Forsaken at tier 2, and Exalted Daemonettes and Spawn at tier 3. Now, Slangors and Spawn aren't actually demons, but they come from this building in the Tormentor's holds. The Cavalry building produces Hellstriders Vanilla Anti-Large at tier 1, Hellstrider with Hell Scourges, and Marauder Horsemen of Slaanesh at tier 2, that's the ones chucking javelins, and Seekers of Slaanesh at tier 3. That is all. The holds cannot produce other units ever. What here is anti-large? Spears obviously, and Hellstriders Vanilla. What here is armor piercing? Not much. Chaos Furies, which are better with more entities now but still low endurance, Daemonettes, which are more numerous but also low endurance, Exalted Daemonettes of course, and don't let me be seen knocking them, and Seekers of Slaanesh. Everything else is base damage tilted, some of it very heavily base damage tilted, as in they're good at that job, and Spawn now do very respectable armor piercing too, so not knocking those. They just do a lot more base damage. Considering this is the Slaanesh roster, what has Devastating Flanker? Marauder Horsemen, Forsaken, Furies, Daemonettes, Spawn, Seekers. The Marauder Infantry don't have it, Slangors don't have it, and Hellstriders don't have it. I'm guilty of assuming otherwise. Now, Hellstriders have poison, the regular Chaos Warriors don't have poison, and the Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges do have poison from the Hell Scourges. Neither have Devastating Flanker on their own. There's a lot that's not here. Since Dechala doesn't have Disciple armies, and the Chariot buildings are in Pleasure Palaces only, and are split, and are Tier 3, Dechala is denied Chariots to a much greater degree than others. When I tested an army summons with Nakari to remind me how it worked, he had one unit of Secret Chariots on turn 1, albeit through non-replenishing summons. This isn't to say one bad thing about Seekers of Slaanesh, it's to say that short of that, your fast armor-piercing is Furies, and to a lesser extent, Daemonettes. Lesser because they're not as fast, even though they're fast compared to Empire Swordsmen and Spearmen. And then, you're starting Druchii Anointed and Dechala herself. Everything else is at best moderate armor-piercing with large doses of base damage. That's not nothing, but you need to know this to plan around it. The main building, aptly called Tormentor's Hold, gives income plus 50 gold per turn, but this is not dependent on the presence of regional thralls, whereas the thrall camps don't earn you a lot once the thralls are gone, so 50 is better than 0. You get Corruption plus 1, Growth plus 10, Defensive Supplies plus 1000, and the settlement by itself can do a sally up to what the game calls a 1500 range. Tomb Kings have to do really special stuff to be able to do this, so just know that it's a great way to ruin an invader's day. Garrison provided is 2 Devoted Marauders, 2 Marauders with Spears, 1 Hellstriders. If you're watching this because you haven't done your own deep dive into the faction, Slaanesh Spear Marauders have shields, making them very different from the Norscan equivalent. Decala's leader bonus gives the Marauder units physical resistance plus 10% faction-wide, so whatever their offensive limitations, they become Tarier Tar Pits and Meteor Meat Shields for 2,000 gold before you start reducing costs with texts, so not cheap favor-wise. Tier 2 gets you to Enclave of the Killing Arts, possibly the coolest name you will hear in this video. This gives no increase in corruption, growth plus 20, income 100 total. Garrison gains 1 unit of Daemonettes for quote-unquote free. For 4,000 gold and 5 turns, Tier 3 Ritual Arena provides 150 gold plus 30 growth, 2 Daemonettes total, and the Hellstrider is converted to the Hellscourge's variant. The Walls building beginning at Tier 1 for 3 turns and 1000 gold, Sentinel Fields, gives 1000 defensive supplies on its own. Forces on-walled settlement battles despite being a Tier 1 building, enemy hero action success chance minus 10% for sadder enemy heroes, plus 5% to income provided by thrall camps in your province, preferably ones that still have thralls, and provides 1 each of Marauders, Marauder Spears, Daemonettes, and Hellstriders. 4 turns and 2000 gold get you Spiked Watchposts, possibly the second coolest name you will hear in this segment, providing 3000 defensive supplies, which is impressive, minus 15% to enemy hero success chance for more tiers, and income from thrall camps plus 10% province-wide. Garrison additions are 2 Marauder Hellscourges, 2 Daemonettes, 1 Spears, and 1 Hellstrider Hellscourges. 5 turns and 4000 gold give you Battle Halls for 4000 defensive supplies, enemy hero success minus 20% for heroes consulting their therapists, recruit rank plus 1 units in local province from a Walls building. Income from thrall camps plus 15%. Garrison additions are 2 Marauder Hellscourges, 2 Daemonettes, 1 Spears, 1 Devotees melee unit, 1 Hellstriders with Hellscourges. The Devotees, that's interesting. Anyway, this means you can start the battle with a lot better blockers, towers, and so on. Instant off, well, technically it's defense. Due to a lack of variation among factions, I'll cite only the top guard post building, Guarded Warpstone. Chance of plague spreading minus 50%, plague duration minus 1 turns, hidden enemy armies become visible in that region, plague immunity 3 turns, Slaanesh corruption plus 5, corruption in other provinces plus 2. Discoverability of bad stuff under the floorboards plus 40. The infrastructure section begins with 1 turn in 1000 gold for Warhost supplies. This adds 250 range to garrison sally distance, gives plus 1% to post-battle loot, sacking, and looting and raising faction-wide, and gives plus 4 melee attack and plus 4 melee defense to its own garrison. 2 turns, 1500 gold, turns this into Warhost Outpost. No faction-wide boost improvement, melee attack plus 8 and melee defense plus 8 for the settlement's garrison, and that is impressive. 3 turns, 2000 gold gets this to Warhost Fort. Sally range plus 750, so it's plus 50% from what you started with. Income from various combat sources, plus 2% faction-wide, and garrison is plus 12 melee attack and plus 12 melee defense, which is quite something. Maybe the damage building action actually has a use here. With no Tier 1 option, 2 turns and 1000 gold gets you Ring of Steel. Armies in province, including the garrisons, get experience plus 75 flat per end turn, corruption plus 2, corruption in adjacent provinces plus 2, income from pleasure palaces plus 5%, and crucially and very importantly, and a big deal, local recruitment capacity plus 1. Because you start with 2 slots and it's painful to get this up. 3 turns and 1500 gold turns this into Ring of Pain. Ouch! Everything got doubled except plus 1 recruit capacity, meaning that the rest is plus 150 experience per end turn for units, corruption plus 4, corruption adjacent provinces plus 4, pleasure palace income plus 10%. To point this out, the thrall camps are more profitable, but they run on a diminishing resource you cannot directly replenish on site. Therefore, long-held areas will be full of Tormentors' holds, so you convert them to this. Or you can convert to pleasure palaces, but that's another story, and only in the major settlements. While resource buildings will be quite varied, Dechala starts with a port occupying a valuable slot in your starting settlement, so I might as well slip this in because it does have importance. Enclave Port adds 30 thralls to your global pool for free per end turn. The port generates plus 100 income and gives growth plus 10. That's it, but the thralls are really valuable because, hey, you're getting thralls from a non-thrall camp in this case. 3 turns and 2250 gold give you Thrall Port, and this gives 40 thralls per turn, 200 income, plus 40 growth. So the growth provide quadruples, income doubles. Thrall income goes up by a third, but 40 for free is great. As I emphasized at the start, what you can recruit from the holds is heavily restricted, and chariots, monstrous infantry beyond spawn, both devotee variants, and just as importantly, if not more, all types of hero characters are denied to Dechala from the holds themselves. The local recruitment slots improvement is badly needed to make the most out of pleasure palaces. Income is nice, and global recruitment is an inevitable part of demonic factions, but your basic pleasurable action to lower recruitment cost and increase recruit rank applies to a local province. So without slots, it's difficult to make any use of that at all. Take care, and have fun dishing out lots of pain to your foes. In addition to your friends, of course.